Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Hub. In a stunning development for currency watchers and speculative investors worldwide, a newly uncovered U.S. Treasury document has thrust the Vietnamese Dong, VND, into the spotlight like never before. This isn't internet hearsay or fringe speculation. It's an official document that places the Dong under active revaluation review. For years, holders of undervalued currencies such as the VND, Iraqi Dinar, AED, and Zimbabwean dollar, ZWL, have waded through cycles of policy silence and reform speculation. That long wait may now be nearing an end. For the first time in recent memory, an official U.S. document not only references the Vietnamese Dong in global financial policy, but directly links it to revaluation discussions. That revelation has sent shockwaves through investor circles. Forums, analysts, and currency dealers are all scrambling to interpret what this means for the near future. If the Treasury is officially citing the Dong in this manner, we could be witnessing a dramatic policy evolution from theory to institutional action. The financial world lit up following a recent Treasury publication, a policy review meant to address international monetary alignment, deep within Section 4A under currency stabilization and emerging market reform. The document states, in light of recent bilateral trade stabilization agreements, revaluation discussions involving the Vietnamese Dong have been actively considered for alignment with IMF recommendations and World Bank benchmarks. To the casual reader, these lines may sound procedural, but for seasoned currency investors, this is a bombshell. Never before has the U.S. Treasury so overtly mentioned the VND in the context of global revaluation. Words like actively considered, alignment, and benchmarks aren't diplomatic fluff, they signal advanced interagency discussions already in motion. Investors are taking this as a definitive green light. Traditional forecasts are being rewritten. Central banks are reanalyzing currency suppression metrics. This might be the spark that ignites a cascade of currency realignments. The Vietnamese Dong has long been a tightly managed currency, maintained for domestic stability more than global parity. Following post-war reconstruction, Vietnam's monetary approach was cautious, rooted in socialist-era mechanisms and a fixed exchange regime. This system preserved internal growth but left the Dong far below its potential open market value. Today, however, Vietnam is a rising economic star. It boasts a booming manufacturing base, rapid export growth, and rising foreign investment inflows. With GDP growth exceeding 6% annually, Vietnam ranks among Asia's top performers. Yet the Dong remains grossly undervalued. This mismatch has kept speculative investors interested, and now, thanks to this Treasury document, those theories are finally gaining institutional traction. Its acknowledgement of IMF and World Bank frameworks signals a transition from localized economic management to internationally benchmarked policy. As trade partners push for fairer currency practices, the Dong's revaluation is emerging as a serious consideration, and not just regionally, but globally. Reactions from across the financial world came swiftly and with fervor. Analysts, economists, and former monetary officials all chimed in, labeling the Treasury's move both bold and historic. Daniel Richter, a senior economist at the Global Currency Institute, said, "There's been no prior Treasury documentation tying the Dong to revaluation. This is a watershed moment." Sarah Kim of Asia Forex Weekly agreed, noting, "This reads less like analysis and more like preparation." Former IMF advisor David Moore added that the IMF only engages in such discussions when long-term valuation shifts are imminent. These aren't just quotas, they reflect a larger shift in this financial establishment. Forecast models are being adjusted. Even retail traders are beginning to reevaluate long-held positions. Many now speculate that the revaluation wave could begin with Vietnam, but quickly extend to include Iraq, Zimbabwe, and other long undervalued currencies. This may be the start of a global reset in currency valuation methodology. The parallels between Vietnam and Iraq are becoming impossible to ignore. Both countries have made strides in strengthening their economies after long periods of war and instability. Both are now attracting significant foreign investment and entering major trade agreements. Recently, Iraq's central bank announced that it has fully reclaimed its authority over monetary policy, signaling a crucial step toward potential revaluation. That move coincided with the country's integration into global oil pricing mechanisms and broader financial stabilization reforms. Investors are beginning to connect the dots. Vietnam's treasury mention may be part of a larger strategy that includes Iraq and potentially Zimbabwe. This wouldn't be a series of isolated moves, it would be the early stages of a unified global currency reset strategy. As more institutional bodies weigh in, the signals are becoming harder to ignore. The investor response was immediate. Online communities exploded with theories, debates, and deep dives into the Treasury document. Telegram groups dedicated to currency speculation hit new participation records, while Reddit threads focused on the Dong and Dinar saw thousands of new posts. Currency trading websites reported major spikes in interest, especially pages related to Dong and Dinar pricing. One California-based currency broker anonymously confirmed a 40% increase in Dong-related inquiries within 24 hours of the leak. YouTube channels covering global finance quickly uploaded reaction videos. Influencers broke down every phrase of the document, which actively considered becoming the rallying cry of the moment. Even institutional forex analysts began recalibrating their models. This shows one thing clearly: when the U.S. Treasury speaks about revaluation, the world listens, and the market reacts swiftly. Policy language rarely makes waves unless it's backed by institutional will. In this case, economists and policy experts agree that the Treasury's words are anything but routine. The phrase alignment with IMF recommendations is extremely pointed. It suggests Vietnam is meeting, or in the final stages of meeting, key benchmarks required for monetary repositioning. These include audits, capital controls, and sovereign transparency measures. Even more striking is the language actively considered. According to former Treasury analyst Mark Levin, this indicates that Vietnam's monetary authorities may already be in ongoing dialogue with U.S. agencies. Furthermore, the fact that the document singles out the Dong rather than lumping it in with other regional currencies implies an individual, high-priority focus. For savvy investors, that specificity suggests behind-the-scenes progress toward formal revaluation. For others, including holders of IQD and ZWL, it represents hope that similar institutional validations may follow soon. Should the revaluation occur, even a modest one could be financially transformative for VND holders. For example, a change from the current 23,000 VND per USD to 5,000 would quadruple an investor's return. A shift to 2,000 per USD would result in over 11x gain. For early, high-volume investors, this could be life-altering. More than profit, though, it would validate the thesis that undervalued currencies can rebound with the right combination of reform and institutional support. A revaluation wouldn't happen in isolation. It could cause forex platforms to suspend transactions temporarily and spark immediate updates to exchange models. Redemption centers, many of which operate quietly, may begin outreach to clients with verified holdings. There's also talk, still speculative, of tiered redemption or contract rates for high-volume verified holders. If the Dong goes, the Dinar and ZWL may not be far behind. To illustrate the magnitude of such changes, here's a speculative breakdown based on current rates, reform status, and institutional cues from bodies like the IMF and Treasury. Vietnamese Dong, VND. Current rate 23,000 per USD. Possible revalued rate 2,000 to 5,000. Projected gain 4x to 11x. Iraqi Dinar, AQD. Current rate 1,300 per USD. Speculative revalued rate 1 to 7 per USD. Projected gain 200x to 1,300x. Zimbabwean dollar, ZWL. Rates highly variable. Revalued range 1 to 5 per USD. Gain potential substantial but uncertain. These figures are purely speculative and not financial advice. They're modeled using publicly known economic trends and institutional reform benchmarks, yet they help explain why these currencies continue to draw such focused attention across the investment world. There's growing consensus that the Vietnamese Dong could become the first true test case in a new wave of global revaluations. If it succeeds, it could serve as a blueprint for other nations trapped in undervaluation due to legacy monetary strategies or post-conflict policy constraints. In today's post-pandemic economic climate, international financial institutions are actively seeking ways to rebalance trade, restructure debt, and reignite domestic markets. Revaluation, done strategically, could serve as a powerful tool to achieve those aims. Vietnam, with its surging exports, strong investment pipeline, and stable GDP growth, is an ideal candidate to showcase that transformation. Iraq, with increasing oil revenue and tighter monetary control, may follow. Zimbabwe is also laying a foundation by linking its currency to gold-backed assets to restore investor confidence. These aren't just hopeful moves, they're methodical, strategic plays toward monetary sovereignty. The inclusion of the Vietnamese Dong in an official U.S. Treasury policy document may come to be seen as the turning point of the moment speculation crossed into reality. For years, talk of revaluation lived in online forums and was dismissed by legacy economists as fringe optimism. But now, real-world policy language is shifting. With phrases like IMF coordination and actively considered, the conversation has moved into bureaucratic halls and decision-making rooms. Governments rarely announce currency changes in advance, but this document is the closest thing to a formal signal we've seen. Smart investors are treating it as such. It's time to double-check holdings, secure proof of purchase, and watch for institutional updates. The pieces are falling into place. The window is opening. And if the Vietnamese Dong truly leads the charge, the age of suppressed currency revaluation may finally be here. It started with one quiet lineal hidden in one powerful Treasury document. Thank you for watching this special report on the potential Vietnamese Dong revaluation. If the language in the U.S. Treasury document is any indication, we may be on the verge of a historic shift in global currency policy. Whether you hold VND, Iraqi dinar, or Zimbabwean dollars, the signs are becoming harder to ignore. Now is the time to stay informed, stay prepared, and monitor every institutional update closely. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any future developments. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take on what this could mean for the financial future. Until next time, stay patient, stay ready, and as always, hold strong.